Hey guys, I'm back with my February, what I've read. What's it called? Wrap up. There we go. So it's going to be a little bit mishmash, but I'm doing it for a challenge. So the first book that I read in February was We Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Miha. So it looks like this. I love the cover. I found book 1 and book 2 at a secondhand store in like a bundle, so I bought them. I give it 3 stars. I feel like it was like about 100 pages too long, and it was enemies to lovers with sapphic characters, but our sapphic characters were the enemies to lovers. They end up, it's like a dystopian, they end up marrying the same guy, and then they end up being lovers, but it happened like very quickly, so I don't know. I haven't picked up book 2 yet. And then when I don't actually have a copy of the book, I'll just stick it in here because some of them were library reads or I've passed them on. But now I read Wake, The Hidden History of Women-Led Slave Revolts. It's a graphic novel. It was super educational and very eye-opening. It was an emotional read. I feel like it kind of broke my heart. But it brought to light things that I wasn't really aware of. So I like that one. Then I read The Cosmic Con. It was another graphic novel I had just grabbed from my library. It was like a new release. I gave it a 2-star. I felt like it was too surface level. It was also like a dystopian read. Or maybe not totally dystopian, but like culty read, but then it was super boring, so I just didn't like it, and I didn't really like the artwork in it. Then I read Throneborn by Max Moyer. I did have a copy, but I stuck it in a little free library. Book 1 and book 2 he had sent me for review. It's a prequel to the first one, but it takes place like 200 years before book 1, so really you could read it as like a standalone. And then I liked the betrayal and the death that were in it. Then I read The Great Gatsby. All of these were for like a under 200 page challenge for the most part. That's what I was reading these tiny books for. I gave it a 3. I feel like I've never read it before. I've never seen the movies. I thought the premise sounded interesting, but I just thought it was kind of boring and slow, and I was very confused about what was happening for like the first half of the book. And then yeah, just don't care about it. Then I read A Nervous Breakdown. I got this in like a giveaway last year at Indie Book Day. And it's like a little classic, and again under 200 pages, and it's 3 stories. 2 of them were about like mental illness, and then one of them had nothing to do with it, so it was just kind of weird, but it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. I don't know if I said that. And then I wrote a book called Norma, which a girl in my book club, Kat, won 3 copies, and then I read a copy, and then I've passed it on back to the book club since then. And it's about like this older lady and just kind of like living her life, and she's like a nosy neighbor, and she like, I don't know, it was like kind of interesting, like the premise, but then it wasn't actually interesting when you're reading it. And then there was little like dictation, so she's like reading or like dictating stuff to herself, so those were kind of interesting. Then I read Scenes from the Underground by Gabrielle Charlet. This Canlit book. I also won this one I did win this one in like a queer giveaway from a kind of local to me bookstore. I gave it a 4-star. It was just really interesting because it's like our main character is traveling from like Berlin and Montreal, kind of doing like the sex and drug scene as like a queer person. So it's just really eye-opening, because I don't know, never been in the club scene, I guess. So it was interesting for me to read because I don't know anything about that. And then I read What Moves the Dead and What Feasts the Night by T. Kingfisher. I'll put them both in here. I gave them both a 3.5. Or actually, I think I gave book 1 a 3 and then number 2 3.5. And number 1, like, or both of them, I guess the writing's very detailed and beautiful. Number 1 fell short. I had a hard time differentiating the characters. And then book 2, I found it was like more realistic, even though then I wrote like haha. And it just like flowed better, so I did prefer book 2. Then I read another graphic novel called The Jellyfish, and it was a like real, like a true life story of the author losing her vision. So it was just kind of interesting, and it was like emo-y artwork, so I really enjoyed that, and she was queer, so I liked it. Then I read The War as We Saw It, which I was sent to review. I gave it a 4-star. It was another true story. It was about our main character who was in Zimbabwe, and it was just kind of like the lifestyle in Zimbabwe, which it was like very interesting because it's like people go into hiding and they're like captured or murdered. So it's just like hard for me to believe that that's how people live. So it's just eye-opening in that sense. Then I read The Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I gave it a 3-star. I had a arc of that one. It was my first Stephen Graham Jones book, so I don't know if all of his writing is like that, but I was super stoked because it was like, ooh, vampires and like old times or whatever. But I just found it very slow, and about like, because I think it was like 400 or 500 pages, and it was just like way too long. And I just found like nothing really happened, and it's like supposed to be horror, but it wasn't really horror-y to me, so I don't know. Then I read The Mafia Nanny Volume 1. I was sent this from Webtoon. I really enjoyed this one. I haven't really read like a mafia romance before, and I just really enjoyed it. We have like this nanny who was hired, and he's like a mafia boss, and then she's hired to look after his kid, and then they start to fall in love. It did kind of end on a cliffhanger, so I do want to continue in on the series because I did really like it, and I did really enjoy the artwork. Oh, sorry if that zooms in or isn't all blurry. And then I read A Streetcar Named Desire. We read it for book club, and then we went and saw the play. I enjoyed both. I gave them four stars. The play was a little bit more modernized. I really feel like Blanche was made into a villain, and I actually really feel bad for her. And I really didn't like Stanley. I thought he was a dick. And an Elsa, but I did enjoy them overall. And then I read a book called Yellow Bark Spider by Harmon Burns, and it is a short story but told in like 3 parts, where we have our main character Kid, who starts off as a child, preteen, goes to an adult, and then part 3 is like post-transition to female, and it was just very interesting. I like that kind of like coming of age and then that transition, and then there's like drugs, sexual assault, just coming out as queer, so just going through all that, I just really enjoyed it. And then I listened to the Broposal. I gave it a 4-star. I just love Kenny and Han. I hated Jackie. I'm so glad of what happened in the end, or like in total. I just found it like, because I can't relate, and this again opened my eyes. I just felt super bad for Han, because he always had that fear of like being deported, and it was like almost like used against him as a weapon, like it's weaponized. And with what's going on in the world right now, it's just, again, like it educated me, I guess, on things that are happening, and it's crazy. And I just love the narrators. I thought it was really good. Then I read a book called This Accident of Being Lost. I just picked it up at the library because it fit the short, under 200 pages. I gave it a 4-star. I really enjoyed the cover, which you'll see here in a minute. And I like that it was stories, poems, and songs kind of all together. And I had some that I liked better than others, but it was just overall great. Then I read Cupid's Christmas by Kelsey Woods. It was cute, quick Christmas read. I do have some of her other books. I just haven't got to them quite yet. And I like that it was Second Chance and Small Town Romance. Those are both really cute. If you're reading romance. And then I picked up The Ballad of Black Tom. I gave it a 4. I did like watching Tommy navigate his kind of like make fast money. I like that his dad was a musician. I honestly don't blame him for what he did. I mean, I would probably do the same thing possibly. And it's, I haven't read the H.P. Lovecraft, what it's kind of based on, but apparently it's super racist. So, I mean, you have to kind of retaliate some ways, so I did enjoy it. And then I picked up We've Always Lived in the Castle. I gave it a 4-star. It was definitely like a what the F read. It's by Shirley Jackson, because I didn't really know anything about it, so I honestly thought it was going to be a ghost story, and it wasn't a ghost story, but it like read like a ghost story, so it was just really interesting. I did like that. Then I got a copy of But Not So Bold sent to me. I did lend it to a friend. I gave it 4.5. It was, quote, damn near perfection from my review. I really, really, really enjoyed it. It's weird. It's creepy. It's beautifully written. There's a spider monster. It's a sapphic romance. I want like a full-length novel. The short story was not enough for me. I want more. So check it out. I love it. And the cover's beautiful. When I post it here, you'll see. And then I read Lost Ark Dreaming. That's another one that I won. I give it a 4 stars. I really enjoyed that. It has multiple POVs, and it's like about, it's post-apocalyptic. These people live in the ocean, but like in this tower. So the tower, or I guess the world flooded, so they live in this tower, so people kind of like higher are more rich, and then the lower you get are like less good, I guess. But all of these people kind of get trapped together, and it's kind of how they like cope and how they do things. It was really interesting, and I loved the horror in it, and I want more of it. And then I read The Annual Migration of Clouds and We Speak Through the Mountain, and I gave it 3 for number 1 and 3.5 for number 2. I just feel like I love post-apocalyptic, and I just felt like they fell short for me. We didn't learn what caused the apocalypse, and then all of a sudden there's like a killer fungus, and then it had like its little Lord of the Flies moment. And then book 2, I did enjoy it better than the first, but we still didn't really learn anything. We didn't get any answers. If there is more, I'm probably not gonna carry on, but the covers are beautiful. You'll see them here. And then I grabbed, or actually I was sent to this book by Andrews McMeel, Poetic Remedies for Troubled Times, Ask Baba Yaga. So it's like, what was the thing in the newspaper where it was like, ask so-and-so, and they would give you like love advice or whatever. So this one's from Baba Yaga. So people would actually send in their real life questions, and the author pretended they were Baba Yaga and answered them in that sense. And it was just super creative, and I really enjoyed it, and I definitely want to read more. This was actually book 2, so I want to eventually read book 1. Cover's beautiful as well. And then I read A Body So Fluorescent. I give it 3.5 stars. I won that with the what was this other one called? Scenes from the Underground in that queer giveaway. And initially I was like a little bit lost, but then I started understanding what was going on. And like, I don't want to give too much away, but like it again like opened my eyes, because it is from like a not trans, but we'll say like cross-dresser, I don't know if that's the right term, but then or like drag, I guess in drag, and 2 best friends, and kind of how that affects a relationship moving forward, and some other things that kind of happened in there. It does deal with some race issues, which again I found interesting, and it was like based on a play, so I would actually really enjoy seeing the play, because I think it would be fun to watch, just kind of how the book was laid out. It would be easier to see what was happening if you could see it versus reading it and trying to visualize. And then the last book I read in February was The Sacred Heart Motel. So I was sent that book. It's by Grace Kwan, and I give it a 4-star. It's poetry, which I'm not like the biggest reader of poetry. I'm trying to be more of a reader of poetry, but it's like queer poetry. So I was like, yeah, sold. My favorite story was Glue Trap, and I just felt like that was realistic and I could relate, and yeah, I just enjoyed it. So that's my February wrap up. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll do a March wrap up right away. I'm not going to do it out here because I'm starting to get frozen, but thank you guys for watching. See you in another video. Bye.